Welcome back, friends. In today's video, we're going to be setting up the month of July. As some of you know, if you saw my mid-year setup, I'm using a different journal for the second half of the year. If you want to see how I set up my beginning spreads, then I will link it here and also below in the description box. So for the month of July, I was inspired from a shirt that my husband owns. Yes, you heard that correct, a shirt that I got from Target. It has the prettiest print of leaves, and to me this reminds me of a tropical scene. Therefore, I was motivated to recreate it for July. As usual, I will link all the supplies that I actually used below in the description. Even though you see the Tombow N89 here, I did not use it. I only used the color 312. In a couple of seconds, I am going to show you a template that I made myself by hand with the cardstock paper that I just showed you, and it helped me create this print. For the spaces in between the big leaves, I tried to recreate what was on the t-shirt itself, which were little snippets of the branches going in different directions. I will say that it took me about 50 minutes to cover both of these pages with the design. I believe that had I been in a more comfortable position, like for example not filming, I could have achieved this in less time. However, everybody is different, so it really depends on your artistic abilities and how neat or perfect you want each branch to be. That will definitely determine how long it will take you to recreate something like this. So because I am layering these craft paper boxes onto my journal, I did measure beforehand how wide and tall I wanted all of my pieces of paper to be. As you can see here, this ruler is divided into centimeters and each number equals 1 centimeter. If you guys didn't know already, 1 centimeter equals 2 grid spaces, which means that I can measure things faster without having to count as much. So with this particular box, I wanted it to be 18 grid spaces wide. So if you noticed, I put the mark above the 9 because remember, every centimeter is worth 2 grid spaces, so 9 times 2 is 18. And then all you have to do is put the paper in the trimmer, align the mark that you made, and then cut it. Then I'll repeat the same process for the other side. I hope I didn't confuse you guys. For the lettering for the title of July, I went with my Jelly Roll white pen in the number 10, and I used a faux calligraphy, which means that I'm going to go in afterwards and thicken the downstroke manually. For my quote page this month, I went with some scripture. I chose 1 John chapter 4, verse 8, which says, "Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love." On the next 2 pages, I will be including a calendar, a note section, and my expenses for the month. I came up with the idea to color in the entire background with the same color, my tambo in the number 312, and then I will glue craft paper and regular grid paper on top. In order to save time, I did pre-cut everything out beforehand. I want to show you how I make straight lines on blank paper. I am going to show you how I make my mini calendar. First, I measure with my ruler, and as you can see here, my columns, which I need 7 of, are going to be 3 grid spaces wide. And my rows, which I need 5 of, are going to be 4 spaces wide. Then I'll remove a sheet of paper from another bullet journal that I'm not using, and I tape it to my desk. I also put a piece of tape underneath the calendar to keep it in place. Finally, I will align my ruler to the grid paper underneath, and I use the dots to help me make a straight line going across. I hope that made sense. I decided to use my label maker in some parts of my journal, specifically for the smaller titles. If you don't have a label maker, don't worry, just write everything on white paper and then cut it out. And then you can use your glue stick to glue it on the journal. I did make the labels for the days of the week and I cut them down really small so that I could fit them and also the July title at the top. But of course, my label maker decided to run out of tape, so thank God I had a spare one and I was able to change it out. Moving on to my expenses spread, I will make my chart with a spare page from another journal. I started out using my Micron in the size 005, but I soon realized that it wasn't writing properly, so I switched it to my size 05. Making this expenses chart is super easy. I label the first column with the due date, then I write the name of the bill in the second column. In the third column, I will write the amount and next to that the confirmation number since I pay most of my bills online. And finally, in the last column on the far right, that is where I track my bank balance after I pay each bill. I started to use my label maker for my expenses title, but I decided to just write it in because it was a big enough space. So for my last two spreads, I decided that I didn't need to color in the entire background because I was going to put another sheet of paper on top of it. So I went ahead and colored around that space, and doing it this way saved me a lot of time. What can I say? You live and you learn. This piece of cardstock paper is going to be for my meal planner. I'm going to do the same thing that I did before where I place a sheet of grid paper underneath, which will help me make the straight lines that I need for this chart. This chart will have 2 rows and 3 columns. On the opposite side here, I'm going to put my monthly Bible reading plan. This month, I want to finish the Psalms. I also want to read the book of Zechariah and Malachi. I want to finish the book of Isaiah. I want to read Jeremiah, and I also want to finish Ezekiel. I think that if I read 3 to 4 chapters per day, I might be able to get through this plan. I want to say that I've gotten away from using rulers as much because it's more time consuming when you use one, so I prefer to make things freehand, but in this case, using the ruler definitely gave it that crisp look that I was looking for, especially because this chart had smaller boxes. Otherwise, I probably would have just made it freehand. we have reached the end and the final flip through. I hope that you guys enjoyed this plan with me. I didn't include the weeklies in this video because I didn't want to make the video too long, but I plan on making a separate video for that. So if you want to see how I set up my weeks for July, I will upload that video in a few days. God bless everybody, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.